You've been taught that if you want a man to chase you, you have to give him a reason. So you do more. You text first, you stay available, you keep the conversation alive, you go the extra mile to show him how much you care. And yet, the harder you try, the more he seems to drift. The more effort you pour in, the less he gives back. It feels like a cruel puzzle. You're doing everything right, and somehow it's pushing him away. But here is the truth no one tells you. The chasing you're so desperate for doesn't come from doing more. It comes from one calm thing most women never think to do. Let's be clear about what that calm thing is not. It's not playing games. It's not going cold, ignoring his texts, or pretending you don't care to manufacture some reaction. Those are just anxiety wearing a disguise, and a man feels the strain underneath them every time. The calm thing we're talking about is the opposite of strategy. It's not something you do to him at all. It's something you do for yourself, and that's exactly why it works. So here it is, the one calm thing. You stop pouring your energy toward him, and you quietly turn it back toward your own life. That's it. Not as a punishment, not as a tactic, but as a genuine return to your center. You stop refreshing the chat. You stop rehearsing what to say. You stop arranging your day around when he might reach out. And instead of all that energy flowing outward toward him, it flows back into you. Your work, your friends, your peace, your own full life. It sounds almost too simple, but this single shift changes the entire dynamic because it changes the one thing he's been unconsciously responding to all along. Here's why it works, and it has nothing to do with manipulation. When you're constantly reaching toward a man, you're carrying the entire emotional weight of the connection for both of you. You're doing the wondering, the worrying, the initiating, which means he never has to. There's no gap for him to feel, no space for him to miss you, no absence to pull him toward you. But the moment you calmly return to your own life, that weight you were carrying alone suddenly has nowhere to go but back to him. And for the first time, he feels the space you used to fill. Think of it like a rope that two people are holding. When you keep pulling, he can simply hold his end loosely and let you do all the work. The tension is covered, so he relaxes. But the moment you stop pulling and gently let your end go slack, he feels the slack instantly. And almost without thinking, he picks it up. Not because you forced him, but because the absence of your pulling created a pull of its own. So let's break down exactly what happens inside a man when you finally do this one calm thing, and why it turns the entire chase around. The first thing that happens is that his mind wakes up. While you were always there, always texting, always available, always one step ahead in keeping the connection alive, his mind had no reason to think about you. Why would it? You were handled, you were certain, you were a closed loop he never had to wonder about. But the moment you calmly pull your energy back into your own life, that certainty quietly disappears, and his mind does what every human mind does with uncertainty. It starts to fill the gap. He notices the silence where your message used to be. He wonders what you're doing. He catches himself thinking about you at odd moments. You didn't add anything to make him do this. You removed something. And that removal is what woke him up. And here's the contrast that matters. A man does not value what he never has to think about. The connection that runs on your constant effort becomes invisible to him. Like background noise, he stopped hearing long ago. But the moment that noise goes quiet, he hears it. He doesn't think she pulled back. He thinks, why does it feel different? And that question is the first crack in his comfort, the first stirring of pursuit. The second thing that happens is that he begins to feel the absence of your reassurance, and it unsettles him in a way he can't ignore. When you were always reaching toward him, you were quietly telling him every single day that you were certain, that you weren't going anywhere, that he didn't have to do a thing to keep you. And a man relaxes completely into that certainty. But when you calmly return to your own center, that constant reassurance stops flowing toward him. Suddenly he isn't sure where he stands, and humans are wired to move toward what feels valuable but uncertain. So instead of you reassuring him, he starts looking for reassurance from you. Through effort, through reaching, through attention he didn't used to give. The third thing he notices is the shift in your energy itself, and this is the most powerful one. When your happiness depended on his response, he could feel that dependence even if neither of you ever named it. It sat underneath every interaction like a quiet weight. But when you genuinely return to your own life, when your peace no longer rises and falls with his attention, your whole energy changes. You become lighter, steadier, harder to read, and a man feels that shift instantly. He senses that you're no longer waiting, no longer anxious, no longer his to take for granted. He doesn't think she's moved on. He feels it somewhere underneath his thoughts as a subtle alarm. Am I losing her? And that quiet alarm is everything, because it flips the direction of the chase. The fear that used to live in you, the fear of losing him, quietly moves into him. But there's one more thing that happens, the final shift that turns all of this into real, lasting pursuit. The final shift is the one that makes the chase real and lasting. He starts investing, and investment is what creates attachment. Here's a truth most women are never told. People don't become attached to what they receive easily. They become attached to what they work for. When you were carrying the entire connection, he had nothing to invest, and a man simply doesn't bond to something that costs him nothing. But the moment you calmly step back into your own life, a gap opens. And to close that gap, he has to start putting in effort. He texts first, he plans, he reaches. And here's the part that surprises women the most. Every bit of effort he puts in makes him want you more, not less. He's not chasing because you became valuable overnight. He's chasing because for the first time, he's investing in you. And we always treasure most what we've actually poured ourselves into. And notice the contrast that ties it all together. When you chase, you give him everything up front, and you remove his reason to move toward you. When you calmly return to yourself, you leave room for him to move. And a man who is allowed to move towards something on his own comes to believe he chose it, wanted it, won it. Not because you made him, but because he did it himself. That belief is what turns fleeting interest into genuine pursuit. So here's the truth underneath all of it. The chase you've been trying to earn through effort can't be earned that way at all. It isn't created by doing more. It's created by the calm, quiet act of returning to your own life and letting the space speak for you. When you stop pulling, he feels the slack. When you stop reassuring, he feels the uncertainty.
When you stop depending on his attention for your peace, he feels you slipping just slightly out of reach. And that's the exact moment a man begins to chase. That's the part so many women get backwards. You keep believing that if you just do a little more, give a little more, try a little harder, he'll finally come toward you. But more effort only buries the connection deeper under noise he's learned to ignore. The thing that actually moves him is the one thing you've been afraid to do: to lean back, to go quiet, to live your own full life and let him feel the space where your chasing used to be. So the next time you feel that anxious urge to reach, to fix, to do more, pause. Take a breath and gently turn your energy back toward yourself. Pour it into your life, your peace, the things that are yours. Because while you're busy living, fully and calmly, without waiting on him, something will shift on his end without you saying a word. The space you create becomes the very thing that pulls him in. And that's when he stops being chased and finally starts chasing you.